Good evening to you folks, or I should say good afternoon. My name is Dr. Myron Moses Jackson. It's a pleasure to be with you. I apologize I can't be in person, but I teach Philosophy of Religion 312 at the same time. But it's an honor to have Dr. Mashan invite all of us to come and talk to you about what it means to go into philosophy. And also, I would like to tell you a little bit about what I think philosophy is. So thank you for your time and attention, and happy end of the semester to you. I just wanted to get into my intellectual biography real quick, which is something that I'm very fascinated by in terms of I don't ever get a chance to talk about it. What you get at our levels of teaching and research and service, there's a sense in which people have slices of your biography, but you never really talk about it. It's something that has been going on for a long time, and it's kind of underlying everything, but you don't get a chance to really articulate it or bring it to the surface. So I'm very thankful to get that opportunity. So thank you for listening. I actually got all three of my degrees at the same school, which is odd in academia. So I went to Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and I received my bachelor's in political science in 2004. And then I received my master's in political science with a specialization in international relations, studying the world, global studies, and political theory with an emphasis on public law. I've always been fascinated by the history of law and legal systems and political systems and governments. So it was fitting for me to get that in 2010. I wrote on Thomas Aquinas and natural law in my thesis, but my emphasis was on international law and political theory with public law. And then something you need to know about. So I ended up applying to over 12 schools to get into a PhD program in political theory. And these weren't little schools. LSU, University of Dallas, Georgetown, SLU, St. Louis University, Emory University, University of Chicago, Notre Dame. I can go on and on. I applied to several schools, and you should know that I was rejected by all of them. That was a very difficult time in my life. It was devastating. It was deflating. You might as well call it Deflategate. I didn't really know what I was going to do at that time. Now, you should know that this is my seventh school at Western Carolina University. I'm in the Department of Philosophy and Religion, as y'all know. But this is my seventh school. This is my first one. And at the time when I was rejected by all these schools, I actually was already teaching at two different schools. Let me list for you real quick all the schools that I've taught at so you get an idea of the kind of journey or adventure that I've been on. The first school was Southeastern Illinois College in Harrisburg, Illinois, where I taught American government, introduction to American government. American government is required by the state of Illinois legislature. Everybody has to take it. So they need a lot of instructors for that. I was an adjunct, of course. If you don't know what adjunct is, look it up. They're usually exploited faculty members who aren't appreciated, given benefits, paid as much to do the same job. So adjuncting is what a lot of people have to start out with. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And so then I was able to get hired by John A. Logan College, which I ended up teaching at for 7.5 years. Southeastern Illinois College, I taught at for only a semester. Then I was able to go to John A. Logan, which I was at for 7.5 years. But I was already teaching at those two schools when I was denied by all the other schools to be in their PhD program, their doctoral program. This was devastating to me. So you need to know that I was sitting in a coffee house one day, the Long Branch Coffee House in Carbondale, Illinois, where Southern Illinois University is. And a professor walked in the philosophy department. And he saw me reading this book by Martin Heidegger. He's a German philosopher. His lectures on Friedrich Schelling's treatise on human freedom. This is a very difficult book. These are his lectures from 1936 and 1941 and 1943. If you don't know about Schelling, look him up. He's a grand German idealist. It's kind of like being out in the mountains. You have to climb up a lot of the mountains to get to his ideas and his philosophy. It's very difficult. The German idealists are very systematic in this way. Their philosophies are very complex. And he saw me reading this book. And his name is Dr. Stickers, Ken Stickers. We ended up co-teaching the class together later on. But he came up to me and said, I haven't met you yet. I think you're in our grad program. And I said, no, I'm not in your grad program. I started explaining to him that I was in political science, but I've never been in philosophy. And he said, well, wow, you need to stop by my office because we would like to offer you a GA-ship. We would like to get you in our master's program. And I was hesitant because I didn't want another master's. That's more time and that's more money. So I was like, desperation kicked in. And I said, okay, I'll do it. We sat down and talked for about a couple hours. He was amazed I was reading this book. And that's the key point that I want to bring to y'all. People who are in philosophy are already doing philosophy. Most people are in other majors and they're sitting around waiting to do their major after they graduate. But he already recognized that I was a philosopher. I was already doing philosophy. He wasn't the first person to tell me this. Several people told me this in the past. I just ignored it and continued to pursue political theory and international relations and political science and public law. But he recognized that I was already doing philosophy. And that's what a philosopher is. And I ended up going on to, let me just tell you real quick, and then I'm going to move on. I ended up getting my PhD, but I didn't have to get a second master's. So my training in Greek and Latin that I received from the political science department and the classics department, they did not realize that I had that on my transcripts. And so they said that I didn't need a second master's. And so I was able to get my PhD within 3 years. In 2013. So that's when I graduated, December 2013. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Stickers, Dr. Oxher. I can name so many other people, Dr. Hildreth. But they were able to see that I was already doing what I'm actually doing now. But I wasn't able to fully recognize it or at least accept it. So my journey is an odd one because it's a lot about failure. It's a lot about error and mistakes as kind of the engine of progress. And without those mistakes and errors, I don't think that I would be as anti-fragile as I am today because of how much deflation or dejection I went through. So let me now move on to, thank you for listening to my autobiography real quick. That's a quick synopsis. I never get to tell people the whole story usually, so thank you. So what is philosophy? You will be told in an etymological sense. The words mean level of wisdom. And that's what it is on the surface level. But what I want to argue is that philosophy has to speak to its specific time, to its specific epoch, to its specific age. And so philosophy for me in this time is about de-hypnosis. I think so many people are hypnotized, whether it's by your religion, whether it's by Trump or progressives. So many people are looking for ways to get into fanaticism. And philosophy to me has always been about asking questions. It's not been about answers. That's why philosophy isn't very culturally relevant to many people in today's society, because we have our cheap hashtags. We have our cheap answers. We have our cheap go-tos. But philosophy actually wants to be more like a child who's in search of wonder and wants to keep asking questions. Asking questions is more empowering in so many ways because you're able to work your way out of the quicksand. You can easily go down the rabbit hole of your knowledge and getting stuck. The key for me is that fanaticism is equivalent to a kind of intellectual imprisonment. And that's what I find so many people in, whether it's a conspiracy theory or whether it's a devotion to some kind of doctrine or movement or person. I really think that there's a kind of deep non-thinking going on in our times. And I think you can feel it. I think you can sense it. And philosophy to me is about thinking, a kind of working your way out of what you've gotten caught up in. It's a kind of de-hypnosis for those who have been hypnotized. And I feel like in so many ways, people have been hypnotized by so many things. This, after all, is the age of instant gratification and impatience and addiction, because those things all go together metaphysically, okay? So philosophy to me is about working against fanaticisms. And you can say these are ideologies, but I think they go deeper than even ideologies. Finally, let me say, in a controversial way, that I think philosophy is about channeling that inner witness. Religion has this notion. Christianity calls it the guardian angel. How many people believe in a guardian angel anymore? Or a kind of hidden or inner guardian or companion that you've always had since birth. This has kind of been given up in the age of modern individualism, unfortunately. Because I think that philosophy, like Socrates said, at the age of 70, by the way, I've always had an inner demon. Demon means spirit, not necessarily an evil spirit. That came later with Christianity. But daemon means spirit in Greek. And daemon represents an inner witness, an inner voice. We've always been talking to each other. Philosophy is about that inner dialogue. And again, so many people are missing philosophy on my version, because not only are they caught up in non-thinking and being asleep and hypnotized, but they also can't find an inner witness. They're online, social media. They're on Yik Yak and Facebook begging people, come over and hang with me. Come over and just chill. They're missing the inner companion. And that's that inner voice that we actually all have, I believe, like Socrates said. And that inner witness is a kind of wokeness. And wokeness goes along with de-hypnosis. There's no mystery to why Republicans nor Democrats want to use the word woke. Because in my interpretation, I think that they don't have a bold humility, which just wants to be woke. I think that they have a shrewd boldness that isn't very humble. And when people get into non-thinking and when they get into hypnosis, they get very aggressive. They get very antagonistic. They get very polarized. They get very with a shrewd boldness, and there's no humility. It takes a lot of humility to admit that you've been hypnotized. Maybe you've been hypnotized by a person, a man or a woman, or a they. Maybe you've been hypnotized by a philosophy, a certain philosopher and a certain system of philosophy. The point is about freedom. The point is about working against mental imprisonment and hypnosis. And so I believe channeling an inner witness is about not only getting at that freedom, but recognizing that you've always been in dialogue with yourself. And this fundamental dialogue with yourself to me represents the more important dialogue that we should have with others. And so philosophies are really about talking to others. And if you're living in an age of hyper communication like we are, but yet ironically, we're not good at talking to others. We don't eat together no more. We don't socialize well together no more. Then you have to recognize that maybe we're not channeling the inner witness, the inner companion. And that will help you see the importance of talking to others and being in dialogue with others and helping them to find ways to be de-hypnotized, to turn autopilot off, to free yourself. Because you don't want to be enslaved by that person you're chasing. You don't want to be enslaved by that politics that you think is infallible. Do you? I don't think you do. At least I don't want to be. And that's why I got into philosophy. So thank you so much, folks. I have enjoyed this, and it's been a great opportunity. And I appreciate you listening, and I hope your finals go well. Let me finally say that the last school I was at, I didn't list all my schools. I want to make sure I list them. Southeastern Illinois College, John A. Logan College, Shawnee Community College, Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, Grand Valley State University in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I was the Bessel chair. My last position, I was the Bessel chair of Ethics, Religion, and Society in the philosophy department. And that was a great honor. But let me just say to you that people at Xavier, a private Catholic school, were very happy to get a degree from Xavier. They were very proud of this. And I think we need to be very proud about getting degrees at WCU. That's why I'm here. And our philosophy department is thriving. And I hope y'all will look into us. And next semester, I'm teaching 306, which is early modern philosophy, 310, which is philosophy of art. I'm co-teaching that with a professor, Dr. McCormick, over in the art department. And then also I'm teaching for the first time ever on this campus, philosophy of race. And this school's been around since 1889. So I consider this a great opportunity, and I'm very humbled and grateful to get the chance to teach a class like philosophy of race in Western North Carolina, where admittedly it hasn't been taught. And so I'm here to fill a void, but at the same time, learn from y'all and work with y'all. And I love it here. I left my bubble behind. I was in the urban area. I loved it in Cincinnati, but I came to the rural area. I challenge people to get de-hypnotized. Will you leave your bubble behind? Would you move from the rural to the urban? Would you move from the conservative to the liberal? And would you move from the liberal to the conservative? That's something I want to leave you with in terms of this kind of freedom and de-hypnosis, philosophy as de-hypnosis. So thank you so much, and have a good night.